Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Inside Lowell podcast. I am your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from the Well Point Studios here in beautiful, historic, and very toasty downtown Lowell in the midst of a heat wave here on this Wednesday, July 16th, I should say. But I'm not sure there's anything hotter than the city of Lowell right now. International attention, new bridges coming in, so much going on. There's some challenges to be faced as well, and who better to talk about all of that with than the guy who's charged with, well, managing the managing the city, managing the mess, whatever it is that pops up. Lowell City Manager Tom Golden offering us an inside view of what's happening here in the city. How are you, Mr. Manager?
Teddy, how are you? How's everything going?
I'm doing fantastic. I've had a great week.
I have had a dynamite week.
Have you? I'm going to guess you had a good week, though. Only you know what was going on, you know.
I'm sure you've seen it. I was away for a few days, and I'm sure you saw the photo with the horse.
I didn't see the latest one, but I should have popped the other one up on the screen there from your last foray into Montana.
Yeah,
but I just had the mayor in there. We recorded the Daily Pulse an hour or two ago.
Sure.
And we talked about the Frontrunner City and all that, and it certainly was a whirlwind 3 days.
It was.
For you guys.
I have to say thank you very much to DPD. First of all, Doreen Burgess, who was my chief. She's the best. You know, she kind of keeps everybody in line with what's happening and everything else. People will see a three-day event and they might just say, it's not that big of a deal. Putting it together was more of a big deal for Doreen, Giovanni, who was my assistant city manager. Sean was, basically all hands on deck trying to put this thing together. Everybody up in my office, the suite, Connor and the whole gang really kind of made it happen. And this is not something that just is 3 days. This probably took a good 2 weeks, right? There's a discussion about coming. Then there's the real deal about, we're not inviting somebody in from Chelmsford that goes home at night or Drake or goodness, I mean, Boston, right? I mean, the faraway land of Boston. We're inviting people from around the world to come to the city of Lowell. What does that look like? Who's picking them up? Who's dropping them off? How are we feeding them? Yeah. That's all part of that, I think, hospitality side that I think we did very, very well. And I have to say, not me, my staff did a fabulous job.
Yeah, it seemed from the outside to go well. It certainly seemed like it worked in terms of getting people to finally understand what a frontrunner city is and how this initiative, this designation, could help Lowell going forward. But behind the scenes, was it what you envisioned? Was it as you had hoped?
It was more. Honest and truly, it was more. It was really exciting. We talk about opportunity all the time, and you have your naysayers, and but as I've said to you and I've said to many people, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? And we are in the process of really making, I believe, this happen. The city of Lowell is truly the city of opportunity. Why? Why is it? Because it could mean anything you want. The city of an opportunity for an immigrant son to continue moving forward with a business. A city of an opportunity for somebody who is thinking about, cleaning a park and naming it after their parents or naming it after anybody or just being part of the community. Education, obviously pre-K to today. City of opportunity. Pre-K to PhD, excuse me. City of opportunity. And I think that's where we're really pushing, not only with what we have going on with Frontrunner City, but we have Frontrunner City, we have Link going on. And something, quite frankly, we still have a couple of other things that, I always say the irons are in the fire, which people tend to say, oh, yeah, sure, whatever. That's all hyperbole and it's just talk. All of this is talk. The action is the fact that we had people from throughout the world, right, come to Lowell, Massachusetts and say, oh, my God, this place is a gem. Just last weekend, we had the young doctors in. People from all over the country coming to say, wow, Lowell, boy, this place is beautiful. I've actually personally walked out and just talked to people about, hey, how do I get here? What do I do? Where would you go to eat? And I missed it this time, which I'm kind of bummed out about, because I do like, I like playing that concierge. Like walking around and just asking people where they're from, what's going on, what they should do. But there's so much activity going on with Frontrunner City, with Link, that home run that was put together by the the future medical leaders of tomorrow.
That's
I think
what,
that's
yeah,
what's
future
called.
doctor, whatever
Yeah.
it's called. They come every year.
The future really smart people.
Yeah, but those of us here in the restaurant industry, we love that because your downtown streets are just humming with activity for 3 days. They used to back it up with another one. They used to run concurrently. One was the future medical professionals. One, I think, was the future scientists.
Yes.
I think that one's dropped off, but that used to cover like a full week.
And that is just the city working with the university working with the city, working with our Convention and Visitors Bureau, everybody pulling in the same direction and saying, hey, you know what we should go after? We should go after the future sewing organizations of America, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. We're trying to get people from the outside. And this is what I love to say to the to the naysayers. Well, I have a pothole. Yeah, I know. Use 311. Well, we have homeless. Yes, I know. And I think we've been working towards a solution on that. We're in the 5th iteration of that right now, quite frankly, because if it were easy, it already would have been done. But, Rourke Bridge, which I know that you talked to the mayor about earlier. When's the Rourke Bridge? I have to stop reading some of the comments, to be honest with you. I'm like,
Look, there's people who are just so miserable with their own lot in life that they will not allow anybody else to be happy and enjoy a success.
Call it out. Call it out. But, and what I say to folks who have that kind of atmosphere or that attitude towards things, well, what would you do differently? What would you actually...
They never have an answer.
No, nobody does, because something, it's easier, as the old saying goes, any old fool or any old mule can kick down a barn, right? Anybody can kick the blazes out of anything, but you have to wake up, and this is what I think the administration's been very good at. I think the team that I have around me has been fabulous. The council has been I've been very, very fortunate with this council. This council sees what we're trying to accomplish. Yes, we are trying to right the wrongs of the past. We can get into schools, we can get into the roadways, we can get into parks. I was just at a park early this morning, and I hate seeing it closed, but I love seeing it closed because I know what it's going to be. Right? And people will complain about it. But once again, how do you get to the next step? How can Lowell continue? Because it always has been, but now we're getting people on the outside, a la UEF, United Economic Forum, or the United Nations. People are talking about us throughout the world today, yesterday, the day before, last week. Talking with these folks has been eye-opening. And yes, UEF, there's a lot of work to be done in the next 6 months. When is this all going to unravel and really start hitting the ground? I mean, I'm hoping for, early part, mid part of 2026. And I know somebody's out there, putting June 1st of 2026. What happened? I'm going to ask. And I get that, but we're not done. Just because we have UEF, the United Nations, looking at us, just because we may have to go to Geneva, we do have to go back to Canada to have these discussions. The team's already working on other opportunities.
Yeah.
Because once again, as a sports guy, you know this. Don't take the shot. You're going to miss, or you're going to score 0. What the hell? Take the shot. Make it happen. See what's going to see how we can push forward in a positive manner to continue to make, the city of Lowell, which I think is the envy as a lifelong guy, the envy of many mill cities, many cities our size or a little bit smaller, a tad bigger. I think we're the envy of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
If you're not, you're going to be. You said you've got other things in the fire. Harken back to a time you were here and we were talking about saving the Smith Baker Center.
Yes.
And you talked about an angel investor is going to pop up for something different. Why not an angel investor for the Smith Baker? Sure enough, here comes a country music star none of us in Lowell probably had heard of.
Right.
Who's going to make the
my daughters and my wife.
Yeah, the girls always love the country music dudes. The guys maybe not so much.
I listen to it.
But I mean.
Whatever the boss wants is really what happens.
You want to offer any hints as to what some of these things are that might happen?
Dave Willett, one of our dear friends.
Yeah, he can now build the 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐲 Museum himself.
He can now build it, right? No, but, I couldn't take anything from Dave Willett because him and his team, and he's the first person to say it wasn't me, it was Teddy and Timmy and Billy and Lisa and Mary and everybody else, right? But they've really worked really hard at that. And they happened to, lightning struck. They found a musician that was really into Kerouac and is now sending them on their journey for their next step. Could that happen over at Smith Baker? Sure. I've been talking with some folks. We can't really talk much about it right now because it's still, well,
There's the hint.
there's still other things going. There may
Angel investor type things?
there may be people interested in purchasing it from the city and moving forward or trying to move forward.
People besides the ones that were the only bidders there?
I can't really get into that. That's a rumor.
All right. Listen. My idea is we need a Lowell boxing museum.
Yeah.
And Wahlberg and Bale made a ton of money off the fighter. Them combined with Mickey Ward, we can get that as like the centerpiece of the Smith Baker,
but that's how
and build from there.
But that's how something like this happens. That's it, right there. Somebody says, boy, what about this? And I think I had heard you state something about the trolley coming from downtown to the Gallagher terminal.
Yeah, I asked somebody about this. It's been discussed. Was it discussed with the Frontrunner City people?
All stuff that's being discussed. Can it happen? I don't know. I think it's something, outrageous when they start talking $1 million a foot or something. I don't know what it is, so I shouldn't even have said $1 a foot.
Some Arab sheik
put it this way: it's not $1 a foot. I can say that it's not $1 a foot.
I'm sure it's not. But if some Arab sheik wants to overcome his guilt for drilling for oil and support climate change and create green transportation for Lowell, here's an investment opportunity.
We are here to help you deal with your guilt.
Exactly. I want to talk a little bit about vision. What is your vision for ultimately what will the city look like once this Frontrunner City initiative and my new man crush Eduardo Moreno said this is 10, 15 years down the road.
Stud. Yeah, absolute stud.
Yeah, I heard Marty Meehan has a man crush on him. Tell Marty I laid eyes on him first.
Listen, Mr. Moreno, Eduardo, walking around with him and just talking with him, I had a great opportunity, not just here, but up in Canada, and then meeting him initially via Zoom. This is a man that's been around the world.
Brilliant dude. Literally
around the world. So doctorate and everything else. And he's just very, very bright person. Mm-hmm. For him to take time to come to Lowell, Massachusetts from his house meant the world to all of us. What does it mean? What is the vision? I mean, I think you're going to see opportunity pop up more. The city of opportunity. We have Brockton, the friends down in Brockton, City of Champions, and you have other cities that really try to grab something. We've been kind of playing around with opportunity because of pre-K to PhD, because of an opportunity to work, the opportunity to open up a restaurant, the opportunity that the city is really here for you to grow. But what does that mean? Well, it means something different to you. It means something different to everybody, right? But it's the fact that the municipality, the city of Lowell, is here to help you realize that. What does that mean from this perspective? The easy part, seeing is going to be believing. So I think that looking at in and around the jam area that we have, I think new buildings over there, that's the opportunity. But as you heard, these folks are not just do-gooders. They're not just here they want to see that transformation is actually happening. So transformation is probably one of the key. Building is great, right? Transformation of a city, of a street, of a neighborhood. And the important part here is multiple times they talked about our vision, right? Which is Lowell Forward, which once again, our DPD and our city council and countless, if nobody knows what Lowell Forward is, then you weren't probably one of the hundreds of people that showed up to say, hey, I think this. Hey, I think that. Hey, that's a great idea. I don't know if I agree with that idea. So if you read the Lowell Forward plan that was already put out, that is something where the opportunity continues. That is something that they noticed that we mentioned neighborhood. So to anyone listening and watching this, oh, this just means more housing. Oh, no, we're talking about what can the neighborhood do? What is possible for a neighborhood? That's our Lowell Forward. That's our vision. Mm-hmm. We talk about neighborhoods because neighborhoods they build cities. It's not really the other way around. Right. This isn't the administration. This isn't the council saying, you listen here, looking down. This is what we're going to do. We're looking from a neighborhood up. What can we do on Appleton Street? Well, if you think of, like I think, what I see on Appleton Street, I see a bunch of 6-story buildings, 7-story buildings. Why? Because it's a hop, skip, and a jump to the Gallagher Intermodal Transportation Area. If we're trying to change things, if we're trying to change Summer Street, what do I see Summer Street being? I see Summer Street being an opportunity for housing right along the roadway, right? How would you like to grow up overlooking South Common? What do I see? I see the pool that is run by DCR. I see that pool becoming something that they did up in Canada, up in Regent Park. They had a pool, but it was a year-round pool. And how good would that be for the YMCA? The YMCA is slammed. You can't get in there. My daughter was a swimmer. Mm-hmm. You know, if you wanted to go jump in the pool at 3 o'clock today, I bet you you'd have to look for a lane. You know, so that's what I see. The vision that I see is I see residents, I see growth, I see business opportunities for people on the first floor. I see opportunity for our nonprofits to come together. There's no secret. I've said this a number of times. We have nonprofits that are really struggling and they have their rent over here and the nonprofit over here is renting. This nonprofit bought but is still having a struggling. How do we bring them together to live in one area, to have their own private space, but then build out space? And where did that come from? Regent Park up in Toronto. They had a nonprofit center, if you want to think of it that way. Everybody had their 2,000 square feet of space for their private space. But then there were classrooms, breakout rooms, that when such and such is thinking about running an event, they just check the calendar. Hey, we need it here, we need it there. Just like you would in a business space, right? Those became popular and they're still kind of working, but those individual cubicles for business space, and if they wanted to utilize the office, the larger office, or the conference room, you have to just sign it out. I think we're on the precipice of major change here in the city. We're nimble enough, and that's important. We're nimble enough to do something like this. We're, you know, I'm not downing Boston. I spent a lot of time there. But Boston, moving Boston is like trying to move the Titanic or the QE2, or just, it's too big. Lowell can move quicker and faster, which leads me to the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. HCID, there's a lot happening over there. We have Lot 15 that's currently under MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, which I hope to bring to the council soon for an actual sale. We have 11 and 12. That is, once again, Memorandum of Understanding. Anybody in the real estate world can consider that the offer, right? Before you get into your purchase and sale and then the final sale. It takes a little bit longer, but that's all been happening within the last 3 years. Lots 2, 3, 4, and 5 are practically completed. And I say practically because there's still some legal things that still need to happen, but there's opportunity there to build up. We made sure that when things were happening in that area, that the sidewalks will be activated. There's no choice. There's no choice. Well, maybe, I think. No. You're either buying this the way we want you to build it out or don't buy it. And, you know, that's been kind of the attitude, because we're trying to be, from the administration standpoint, at the council's, you know, not request, but kind of, we're here to work with you. I need to fight every single day to make sure your business stays in Lowell. We just met with a great company just 2 days ago, or yesterday, I think it was, over lunch. And it might have been someplace that you're familiar with.
You look like you were having an important meeting. I didn't interrupt you.
Well, it was an organization that, you know, privately, I'm not going to talk about it, but I think that the CEO and the chief operating officer, the owner and chief operating officer, were talking about, I said, I need you. You can go anywhere. I need you to stay here, to grow here, to look at your area, and I'm not going to give it away where they're at, to grow your business here. And the business model that they were showing me was ripe for opportunity, incredible opportunity, not only for jobs, but for tax base and for people coming into the city, and hopefully someday getting their headquarters here. That's my goal at the end of the day. So what is going on with UEF? What is going on with this United Nations? I think that the key word is going to be the opportunity to do something that anybody would appreciate the opportunity.
Right. I think you answered my question. My question was going to be, whose vision is going to get developed through the Frontrunner City Initiative? Is it their vision of what a global city is, or will it be yours slash the Lowell government's and ultimately the Lowell people's vision of what they want the Frontrunner City to be?
It's definitely a neighborhood up, right? It's 100% neighborhood up. But if somebody wants to put a 30-story building there, okay, anywhere, right? Well, the neighborhood may want it. Let's just pretend for a moment the neighborhood wants it. They want a 30-story building.
Which neighborhood are we talking
Any
about?
neighborhood.
Are we talking about downtown?
I'm
or
not getting any.
We're talking about Pawtucketville, Upper Highlands, and South Lowell.
24 Monroe Street, where I live.
Your house, okay.
My house, and all the neighbors agreed, 30 units, 30 floors up. And
Yeah, not going to happen.
Which is never going to happen.
No.
Right. It's never going to happen. But let's just pretend for a moment that that is true. Let's pretend that we want 6 outrageously huge skyscrapers, which once again is not true. Let's before somebody goes. The neighborhood may want it. The city may want it. But financially, and this is where UEF comes back, they may turn and say, you can't do that. It's not going to make sense. The UEF isn't here to hand out money, although there will be some grants available, as the year progresses here. If somebody wants to put in bike lanes and they want to pay for it, I'm not going to say no to that. Yeah. It provided it's a necklace, right? It brings you at least from one point to another. It brings you someplace. If the Panos family wants to invest in that because that's your thing, the Panos fund or what it is. Yes.
It won't be bike lanes.
It won't, but
I get what you're saying.
We're all ears. But if they turn to us and say, this is not going to work financially, you can't make this happen, you can't do this because of the finances from, it just isn't going to work. Well, it's not going to work. So who runs this at the end of the day? I think it's the neighborhoods, DPD, the city will continue to set the vision and will be as grand as we can be. And then the market, the one thing in real estate is the market always dictates what can and cannot happen. If you had a cocktail at your restaurant for $50 and it's because it was the best scotch in the world, you may not sell it, right? You may not sell, maybe you will, I don't know. But if you're in Boston at, give me one of the fancy.
Capitol Grill.
The Capitol Grill.
Davio's.
Grill 23. That may sell. I don't know. But the market always dictates what you can and cannot do. And if we want to continue to think of ourselves as a second-tier city, that's what the market's going to do. We need to push the market to believe that we are the premier. You got to remember, Boston, Worcester, Springfield, Cambridge, Lowell. We're the 5th largest city in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which puts us in a pretty big spot in Massachusetts, in New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. That would put us in easily the top, I'd say the top 8, as far as size.
Maybe Burlington, Vermont, Portland, Maine, but that's it. You're bigger than any city in New Hampshire.
Right. So, we're
Hartford, I forgot Hartford.
But we should be an epicenter, right? We really, truly should be an epicenter. And this gets back to UEF. This is about Lowell today. We're talking about Lowell, which, we have to, come full circle and close this up. And that's going to be happening within months. We may be signing some of this additional paperwork within months. But what we really haven't talked about is regional, regional work. Myself, the mayor, some of the councils were there present for. They're not just talking about Lowell, but Lowell in the greater Lowell area. And what can happen in the greater Lowell area that would continue the betterment of habitat, right? The United Nations Habitat is kind of like, I look at it this way, they're the parent of the United Economic Forum. So it's very linear, I suppose, if you want to look at it that way. But they're thinking, they're trying to bring globally to Lowell. And Lowell would be that new area that kind of moves out to Chelmsford if they wish, to Drake if they wish, to Tingsboro. How do we all work together on housing? How do we work together on homelessness? People talk about this all the time, and it doesn't happen. But if there's a benefit for everybody, maybe it should happen.
It's almost always a financial benefit.
It's
but it sounds like
but
that
once again,
potential is now there.
But UEF's not going to invest in a 30-story building. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, my personal opinion, this is just me, my personal opinion, if the neighborhood at Christian Hill wanted 5 30-story buildings, I would vote no. But if it passed, it passed. That's just the way it goes. I don't think that the city is quite frankly, a tower. I don't think we are. I think we're that 6, 7, 8-story area. That's what I think. And people will be pushing back, and we need a signature building. No, we need a signature downtown. We need a signature roadway. We need a signature location. That's not predicated on buildings. That's not predicated on monuments. None of that is. It's predicated on horizontal construction, ease of walkway, getting anybody in the world to say, I want to open up, I don't care, a hot dog stand. And the city being the conduit to help that person make that happen. That's what makes a city. No big, tall buildings. I've been down to the financial district more times than I could think. The financial district, in my opinion, at least it was 4 years ago, was a disaster. Great concept, great idea, but it closes down at 6 p.m. Walking through the financial district in Boston, when it closes down, there are banks and insurance companies and all that cool stuff. It closes at 6 p.m. You walk through there, you and I could walk through there, you're looking around. I'm talking tumbleweed city. Now, unless that's changed in the last 3 years, I don't know. That's not what we need. We need 24-hour activity, people coming and going at all times. And whether that's done with a 6-story building or a 7-story building,
So this was one of the things that impressed me when Mr. Moreno was speaking to the developers, and he said, "I don't want you to just build housing. We're probably gonna tell you no. You build housing with some that creates jobs, or amenities / quality of life." He kept saying quality of life and economic opportunity, and that spoke to me of what the new trend is. I know we all lost our minds when Salapoli proposed 5 stories and maybe give you commercial, and then we got Cabot and Forbes, and they said we'll give you that, and we will give you the first floor. But it sounds to me like their vision, Mr. Moreno and the Frontrunner City folks, and ultimately your vision is 6, 7, 8-story buildings with first floor commercial opportunities.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Once again, if you really think of what my vision or my thought process, okay, I could be wrong, but once again, it's a thought process. A large building isn't the be-all, end-all. Are we going to have 2? Are we going to have 3? Or we're just going to have 1. It's going to look like a toothpick sticking out of the sky if that's what we were to do. And if that's if that is what the market demands or commands, remember that this is about the market. What can the market do? Hurry up and wait? Hurry up and wait for what? We're here to make some changes today. I mean, if we didn't change our thought process on the mills, they'd still be dilapidated. They'd still be vacant. We're working with the final, I believe it's going to be the final, I could be wrong, but the final mass mill set over right on the Merrimack River. As a kid, I lived in Centerville my entire life. I drove across and saw the Merrimack Mills, right on Bridge Street. Market Street, no, Merrimack Mills. Yeah, I got that right. I'm getting my M's all mixed up. Next time I'll be calling Middle Mills. But consistently going to Lowell High, crossing the Bridge Street Bridge. The place is dilapidated all throughout the 80s, the 90s. And you know something? The gentleman that's the owner over there is doing a fabulous job. He told me, he goes, "I'm not dying until I finish this." And that was kind of a strong statement coming from a gentleman that, I'm 54. He might be a little stronger than me in years, but he's like, this is my final thing. This is what I want to do for the city. So, everybody that gets so hung up on it's got to be 10 stories, 12, 18, close to 30 years of experience in real estate. And I hate saying this, but this is true. You want to sell your house tomorrow for $1 million, right? Maybe your house is worth $1 million, but all you got to do is find out is you put it on the market, right? And the market will dictate to you. That's it. You want to sell a $50 cocktail, put it on it. You'll find out right out of the gate. The market doesn't kiss and tell, doesn't lie. It tells you directly what you can and cannot do. So I've kind of changed my way of thinking on this, is that This is about horizontal construction. This is about sidewalks. This is about ease of getting around the city. And you know something? There will be traffic. There'll be traffic because that's what happens when you're growing, you know.
It's called growth.
But do you not go to Boston because of traffic? People still go to Salem, Mass during
They go to Fenway. They go to
the month of
Garden,
October. It was a
yeah.
nightmare, right? People still go. Fenway Park. Does it stop? Gillette Stadium. Does it stop people? I wouldn't go to Gillette Stadium. Honest and truly, I'd rather sit home and watch it because I want to sit there in the
But
traffic.
60,000 people do.
I don't, but 60,000 people do, and they're committed to it.
So funny. Whenever I praise you for your vision, it's because you always talk, build up, build up, build up. You were saying it back in 2017 when we were fighting about
Yes.
high school and how tall it could be anywhere, downtown or in
People make stuff
or in
up all the
Belvedere.
time. You can't do this. I'm like, who said so?
You just said you've horizontal growth.
Yeah.
Because I saw I saw the proposal your DPD team put together, some of the still photos.
Yep.
And I put it up, the one of the Gallagher terminal. Now I was trying to count stories. It looked like an 8-story building
Yep.
above a train station, but it looked like it belonged.
It does. It does.
And I could see a bunch of other of those. Now I drive over the Lord Overpass all the time, and I'm looking. I'm like, does the city own that parcel? Right?
And we've created parcels
across the canal from the Dunkin' Donuts and whatnot. And I'm like, now the Lord Overpass makes sense. But that is all for Lowell. That's vertical building. Look, a 6,
vertical.
7, 8-story building in Lowell is vertical.
Yep.
But are we talking about 1 or 2 of them, as you said, or are we talking about a whole bunch of them?
I don't. You know something? What my complete guess is, when you build the first one, it's like anything else, right? You can go to anywhere, any town, USA. When someone said that developer is crazy, they're never going to get. I've been doing this long enough where I remember in Drake there was like $700,000 houses. No one's ever heard of that. That was, you got to remember, once again, 30 years, right?
The McMansions.
That's,
I mocked them. Everyone mocked them.
that's not going to happen. That's not going to work. You're right. Because they're not 700 anymore. They're 1 million, right? So, the market will dictate what we can do. Would I particularly care? Would I mind if the downtown near the link over by the jam plant, if they decided to go 10, 12 stories, 14 stories? I wouldn't mind one bit. I wouldn't mind one bit because why? It brings density. Density is our friend. Why is density our friend? Because if we have the right mix, which we're teetering like other communities, we need to bring our ownership mix up. And that's why I've been very successful with the acre crossing. Those are 37. I have a lot of numbers in my head, but I believe it's 37 people who have never owned a piece of property now own a piece of property in the acre. The first time that has happened. Thank you very much, Jeanne d'Arc. Jeanne d'Arc could have sold it to anybody else that would have just put anything there, but they wanted to leave their mark and say 37 people who have never had the opportunity to own now do. And you know what? They have a sister building going up now. They're talking about a sister building, which I think it's 27, but don't quote me on that. So you're talking about 64 potential, 37 we know of, another 30-ish, right? That's the first time there's been real ownership opportunity in a community inside a neighborhood that traditionally has never seen that. Has never seen that.
So that's Mr. Moreno said that. I can't remember where, but again, I think it was around the developers. He talked about
I love this
ownership of foot, and it harkened back to something you said probably before you ever heard the 2 words Frontrunner City put back to back, but affordable home ownership. And you had highlighted the old Julian Steele project, and that's been kind of your target since you've become city manager. This looks like it's a vehicle that would allow you to realize what was your vision, because it actually seems to go with what Mr. Moreno's vision is as well.
It does, but it's housing for everybody, right? So you could say workforce housing. We have a couple of companies that have done a fabulous job. Heritage does a lot of market rate. Wind Development does that workforce where there is a third of people who really need assistance, but living right next to a third of people that are working every day and have some money, and then a third of people that I would say are living there because they're waiting for the market to adjust and they're going to buy something. So income levels, right? I call it workforce and somebody will call it something different, but all three doors in the same building are the same. So Teddy, the guy that has the money, and Tommy, the guy that doesn't, you don't know. My door's not red and yours is green. It's the same makeup, the same quality. That's the type of housing that we need. Why? Because I firmly believe, and I recall Julian Steele back in the day, we took a lot of heat for this, myself, the delegation, when we talked about changing Julian Steele. And I talked to Jim Milanazzo, right? Here's a name from the past, right? Good guy, did a great job over the Lowell Housing Authority. Jim and I talked about this place called I think it's called Kingsway in Lynn. I happened to be down visiting Tom McGee, who's a dear friend of mine, who ended up being mayor of Lynn. He was a state rep. We came in together, and he showed me what Kingsway or Kings Lynn. But I should Google check that, right? But it showed how the difference in socioeconomics, that if socioeconomics, and all my really smart people from the university will tell me I'm wrong because I'm sure it's changed over time, but the socioeconomics of the world is if you put elderly people together, it typically works, right? Elderly people can be next to each other and live harmoniously for the most part. If you put all poor people together, you get the slums of, name a big city, the slums of Boston years ago, the slums of New York, the slums of whatever, right? That doesn't work. But if you start to put people, like I'm saying a third, because it's easier, 33% across the board, you get better neighborhoods, you get better results, you get, honestly, better neighborhoods. Because someone that doesn't have the ways and the means financially should be treated no different than someone that has the ways and the means financially. And Lowell hasn't had that problem for the most part. We've had tough areas, but growing up in the city, I would venture to guess I know it's factually, being a kid, I'd say in the 80s, there were neighborhoods we wouldn't walk into, sections that we wouldn't walk into. I don't think that's true today. I don't, not because of Tom Golden doing this, but because I'm looking at back what we did, what we've been doing. You can go back by every council. You can go back to every city manager, and every city manager has tried to strengthen the foundation. And the naysayers will, he's full of baloney. But if you think of all the things that have happened over the last 20 years or 30 years that have been involved with government, everybody was coming at it for the right reason. I think on one of your other podcasts, you had mentioned garages, the white elephants that they are. They're terrible. Nobody wants to build a garage. Nobody, right? However, the Eddie Early garage on Middlesex Street, I think, was built by the Cox administration. Took a lot of heat for that. Oversubscribed today, right? HDIC, built by manager Donahue. People criticize it. She was ahead of her time. Ahead of her time. That was the right play because we're dealing with Lot 15. We're dealing with 11 and 12. We've been... Terry Ryan, out of our parking. We've worked with our friends over at the Lowell, the health department, not health department, excuse me, Sue over at Lowell
Community Health Center.
Community Health Center. Sorry, I got LTC. Sue Levine. So we've worked with Sue Levine. Why? To help her patients get to their appointments on time. We asked some of her people to move over to HDIC, and once they found out it wasn't a big deal, a walk. Now their patients are happier. Their clients are happier. The patients are happier. And the employees are like, this is fine. There's no harm, no foul. It just takes a lot of work and a lot of, talking to each other to find out how this could happen. But my point is, things are done previously that people are like, that's stupid, that's government, that's this. I think that we're building on every city manager, every city council beforehand. UEF, this council is, I'm not saying this because they're my bosses. I'm not.
You better say it because they...
No, but they don't take to that. They really don't. But they allow me a lot of room. And to, people talk about errors. I make them all the time. But if you're not making errors, then you're not trying. You're just simply not trying. And that's where I get back to you miss every shot. UEF is a good thing. Link is a good thing. We have a homeless issue like every other, city in the Commonwealth or in the world, right? Yes, we have drug issues like every other, and we're combating those with I believe 24 professionals that we have between the police department, Pride Star, Dave Daly's crew does a great job. Our co-op does a fabulous job. Our co-op is lights out. And we need to get communities around us to pay attention to do this, because we can be, and I do think we can be the envy of everybody with UEF, with Link, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So funny you mentioned the parking garages. I was actually talking about it with Mayor Rourke earlier today. Somebody you introduced me with, from the Mass Office of Business Development, he asked me, we were chatting yesterday, he said to me, what's going on in Lowell? So I mentioned the Frontrunner City thing, and he goes, I read the headline, but I couldn't get through the paywall. I said, well, go to InsideLowell.com. There's no paywall. Free commercial for Inside Lowell. Anyway, so I started telling him this. He goes, that doesn't surprise me. He said to me, he goes, I don't remember the year, 2002 or 2003, you guys took a vote to build a parking garage. And he was talking about the early garage. He didn't know the name of it.
Sure.
But he mentioned how then everybody thought it was the stupidest thing. He goes, there were maybe a handful of cities in the country that would have had the balls to go make that vote to build a garage that nobody would be in. And I remember even when I started working at the radio station in 2007, people were crapping all over it. The early garage is empty. That it was Bernie Lynch then, but I think it was John Cox who kind of got the ball rolling on it.
Correct.
But this gentleman told me, goes, that got us at the state thinking they see things in Lowell. They're smart. And so I said to him, well, you'll be glad to know they did the exact same thing in 2020 during COVID. He goes, oh, I know. I was involved in that with Eileen Donahue.
But let's look at Lowell Locks Canal, right? One of our most underutilized, all right? At one time, it wasn't. Why? Because we had a hotel.
Yes.
Okay? Right now, it's one of the most underutilized parking garages in our city portfolio. But what are we doing with it? And people talk about this, like, what are we going to do? Well, we're working with the state right now on the Lowell District Court. Okay, there's excitement there. Is it 60 units? Is it 80? Is it 100? Don't know. I feel as though I can say this because I've been talking to the chancellor. I have no ownership rights to the ICC and what I've referred to as ICC2. Right, but I feel confident that there is an open line of communication that the ICC can someday in the future of 2026 be something different, which we're working on. And we've discussed this on the council floor. The councilors know this. ICC2 is a terrible, awful, grotesque, horizontal parking lot. And I don't like parking lots. Why? Because parking lots are a waste of space. Put some green space there, for God's sakes. I mean, and if anyone knows the ICC and the parking lot that I'm talking about in front, right next to it, I mean, contiguous. I mean, you could hit a ping pong ball off a ping pong racket or whatever, paddle. You could hit a garage that is underutilized. So what is the city advocating for, looking for, with the UEF, talking to our friends at UMBA, the UMass Building Authority, which owns that property, which Mary Burns, a dear friend of mine, a dear friend of the city's. She's a city gal, as she says all the time. Mm-hmm. But how do we create I'm not going to say a new neighborhood, right? But how do we create the district court area into an area that will have feet on the street? And where are they going to park? They're going to park at the underutilized garage. Dave Daly, another guy. Lowellian, his entire life, nobody's going to question Dave Daly's commitment to the city, nor his commitment to his trade, which is typically building houses and, of course, Pride Star. But he has a piece of property on the other side of the canal. If he were to build there and we allow him to build up, what could they utilize? They could utilize the underutilized garage. We have a parking lot that's back there, the Davidson Street lot, which we have to talk to our friends over at the LMA. We don't want to interfere with. LMA just did a fabulous job with Darrell Hall last night and
packed the downtown. Made a lot of money for the restaurant.
Crazy town, USA, right? My wife went, and I had met her, but she went with her sisters and that whole crew. But so how do we make that parking lot work? The Davidson Street lot, which is, once again, I've already said it, I don't like parking lots. How do we build up and over it? How do we connect that? How do that potential 500 units, and people are going to say traffic. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It is traffic, but traffic is growth, right? if it's true, what's going to happen in 20 years from now, which I question, those garages will be remade to housing. I don't know what they will do, but it's an opportunity for us to really grow that one section. That has nothing, and that's all UEF stuff that we're talking to them about. That's one section of the city. We're not even talking about the jam plan. We haven't even talked about Thorndike, the spots that have been created. Mm-hmm. We haven't talked about the property in and around the Gallagher terminal, which so we own one thing. The city owns one thing because I'll buy things. I'm not going to sell them unless I know where they're going. But the MBTA is looking for money. They always have been. Why do they own parking lots? Why aren't you building up and over the parking lots? We're saying, welcome. Let's do it. Let's create a state-of-the-art, which Dave Bradley, by the way, from the LRTA is dynamite. Talk about a forward thinker and everything else. He is the executive director of the LRTA. Let's make the station here in Lowell, which is another conversation. Let's have that station be the station up in this area where you're like, of course I'm going to Lowell. I can park here. I can do this. I can leave. I can go to Jade Lowell right across the street. I can go to Dragonfly. I'm pulling these from Dragonfly, and Panos has got a new place. Golden has a bagel shop. All the way down the route. That's what we're talking about. I think that's what Moreno's talking about. And when he's talking to the developers, this isn't about the developers making $100 because right now they're not making any dollars. When you're not building, you're not making. So this isn't about all of a sudden, if low interest opportunities come in, they make their $100. This is about them maybe making 85. So think about that. You can't make 100 because 100 would be a win for the developer, period. What they're talking about is a win-win. What's the delta there? Is it $10? Is it $15? You're not going to make any money, but now at least you're going to make 85 because that other $10 or $15 is going to go into some commercial space that is reasonable. It's going to go into greening some parkways, greening some areas in the downtown or whatever the case may be, or helping the senior bus or something to that effect. That's what Mr. Moreno's talking about.
For anyone wondering what the hell is the manager talking about,
sometimes the manager wonders that too.
Go to InsideLowell.com and it's an article called "The UEF Lays Out a Vision for Lowell," where we actually saw some of these drawings. And then that particular area you were talking about, the courthouse, there's an artist rendering of what the courthouse could be, which I assume is what you and Giovanni and everybody else wants it to be. There was also a photo of what somewhere in there for like the Inn Conference Center could be, or South Common, all these different areas.
South Common, I'll tell you right now, South Common, what I see on Summer Street, I see the brick facade, right, going right down the sidewalk, 2 to 3 bedroom, overlooking the area. And then I see, that indoor pool. But, the trick here is, how does the indoor pool get funded? And the indoor pool would get funded because Panos Construction is going to build out 40 units, right? I'm thinking brownstones over the historic South Common. Sure. Are we going to have to take 30 feet? Yeah, we would. Do we have to talk to the neighborhood about that? Yes, we do. But could you imagine a backyard with kids, right, that has an area that is so underutilized? And our NRU unit, our Lowell Police Department, I was talking, just saying thank you again to the superintendent and his unit there. That area, it's still tough, right? Let's be honest, but it's so
not
much
as bad
better.
as it was. It's noticeably different.
Last year, you couldn't be there.
Yeah.
We took the folks from UEF right over to that area. And you know what? They're international guys. They're looking around going,
they've seen homeless people before.
This isn't bad. Yeah. And
really?
No, they're international folks. They've been around. I mean, Mr. Moreno's from Mexico City.
True.
Right? So he's looking around. Yeah, I could see that. And I said, well, we have this thing and you can't take the land, but could you? Let's have the conversation. By the way, the conversation could start now. People will start screaming, don't take it. But it's not taking if you're replacing. It's not taking if you're making it better. It's not taking if you could drive by there and see families like you are now. I mean, I was there, I think we were there Tuesday and Wednesday. I was there Friday with all the crew from the Parks Department, which, by the way, our Parks Department, they're doing a great job. They really are. They're over there hustling. We're talking to some of the folks that deal with the homeless, and we're asking them to be a little bit more tidy. You know, where we help them through money, through financial means, through CDBG monies, et cetera. We need them to kind of step it up and brush up their sidewalks. We kind of ask everyone to do it. You know, brush up your sidewalk, cut your grass. You know, we're all in this. I don't have enough people in the Parks Department to go, you know, cut down every bit of shrub in and around the area. Help us out if you could. You know, I'm not telling you to go to Shed Park and start going crazy, but I'm just saying, you know, on the corners of streets, hey, you get your weed whacker out. You know, help us out a little bit.
You've got the you mentioned a pool, other amenities, nonprofits.
Yep.
And just, my wheels are spinning. What if the YMCA just assumed the new pool and it was a 24-season pool? Now you open up potentially another parcel for another development near the train station.
No, but once again, that's a good opportunity, right? If we could, how do we get that done? You know, and so you're right. And I was saying, I even talked to Kevin over at the Y. He's probably going to watch this and go, Tom, we need to talk. You know, board of directors don't know anything, but these are just,
they should be reaching out if
but they're just simple. They're simply ideas to get people thinking. And you know what? It may not happen, but you know something? It may. It may.
Chatting with Lowell City Manager Tom Golden here on the Inside View. I made a note here because I do these little teases here and there, but you mentioned City of Opportunity. The mayor, when he was here, said, I asked what needs to happen. He said the most important thing, the most rushed thing right now is to complete the city's profile.
Yes.
Is that the profile? Is that going to be the definition of the city's profile, the City of Opportunity?
Yes.
Or is that just a slogan that you were throwing in with like City of Champions? Is that what you're kind of be pitching to them?
I think the City of Opportunity is a tag of City of Champions. You know, something like that. You know, live, work, play. I think that there's a lot to like about Lowell. I think that I still am a big fan of There's a Lot to Like About Lowell. I'm still a big fan of the slogan. I'm a big fan of the song, because people remember it. You know, who are you going to call when your windshield's busted? Call Giant Glass. Giant Glass isn't even around anymore. Right?
I still know that stupid number. Yeah. 1-800-54
54 Giant, right? And I think they were bought out by whomever. But so I do like There's a Lot to Like About Lowell. However, I think that if we're growing this and we're looking at different opportunities for the city, whether it be through education, whether it be through opening in businesses, whether it is through the UEF, I think it's opportunity. I think the City of Opportunity is a good. It's not a tagline. You got to believe it. And if you don't believe it, you know, there are so many people, and so many people have my cell phone number, and a lot of the complainers do. And I just, you know, I try to tell them straight, you know, well, this is a mess. And I don't mean to be fresh. I really, truly don't mean to be fresh. Watch me walk downtown. Representative Howard and so many good people downtown, they're all down there with their pickers. Yeah, I'll pick up a can and throw it. Why? Because a kid probably did it. What do kids do? They don't pay attention. My kids don't pay attention. They're 21 and 19.
Yeah,
you know?
you don't want my kids coming.
No, my kids are wonderful. They're wonderful human beings. They're really, really good people. But some people just are going to live outside the lines, and they're going to just, you know, throw things on the ground. If you see it, you don't need to put it on Facebook. It's not a big deal. Facebook is terrible to me, in my opinion. It's, you know, people will take a picture of something and say, this is outrageous. Well, why don't you exercise a little bit of your own, you know, and go pick up the outrageous. And someone will say, I don't have to. I pay taxes for that. No. You know, we can't be everywhere. You wouldn't let a kid go run into the street and take a photo and say, who owns this 4-year-old kid that's running down the middle of Bridge Street, right? So the whole Facebook thing, I'm on it to watch Inside Lowell. I'm on it to watch some of the other, just to see what's going on. I love pictures of kids and parents, and my parents' 90th birthday, or somebody just turned 100, or if I'm at the beach, look at this, and you'll get the new, I'm sure you're going to get the new.
I can't wait to see the new
horse
review. Yeah.
There's a new, you know, I like horses. I don't know anything about them, but, and I don't know why they want me to ride a horse, but you know, there's opportunity here. And I think that we're going to continue to talk about the opportunity of Link, the opportunity of the UEF. Lowell Folk Fest is coming up, you know, the 25th, 6th, and 7th. The bicentennial is coming next year, the 200th anniversary, which we had a meeting just last night. I know that I spoke to you earlier about it, But
I had my son's baseball game, or else I would have been there. But you guys are planning the bicentennial celebration of the city, which, by the way, coincides with the bicentennial, the 250th anniversary of the country.
Correct.
The Constitution. I'm sorry, the Declaration of Independence. My bad. But
I know where you're going with that.
So it's going to be a celebratory year.
Yes.
2026. You're not planning one event. You're making it a celebratory year, aren't you?
And I've told you this. A dear friend of mine that I'll remain nameless, who was a city manager, so you can figure it out at some point. He said to me they had done a big party for their anniversary, and he said, "Tom, I was never so sad. I was sitting under a tent, and he goes, I have my beer, and I'm sitting there looking around, and it's raining to beat the band." He goes, "I thought I was at Niagara Falls, you know." And I said, "Well, it must have." He goes, 3 days. 3 days of pure rain. So he said, any advice from an old man?" And I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Don't do it just in one weekend." I said, interesting. So we are taking this opportunity to gauge the temperature of people, and this is all starting now. So anybody watching this, I haven't been called yet, call me. Shoot Tom Golden at lowellma.com. Give me an idea. We've been talking to the artists. We're talking to the library. We're talking to history. We're talking to restaurants. Not all restaurants showed up. Everybody was invited. If you didn't see it, you missed it, but that's okay.
You're sharing it on all of the city stuff, but Inside Lowell, Danielle, Chamber of Commerce. That's how I actually found out about it, was through her. But there's opportunities out there, and keep an eye out for them, folks.
So the opportunity, let's keep it simple. We're going to have the next thing going out to everybody is, we want you to help us celebrate 2026. We have a major name, we hope coming in that I can't wait for this to break if it happens. Lowell Memorial Auditorium. It's because it's like anything.
You can't just leave us hanging like
no,
that.
I don't have it yet. I mean, I got two things that are really good. But the funny thing is, in music and scene and culture, I don't like Teddy Panos. I don't like Tommy Golden. I know. Well, if anybody can get me somebody that everyone's going to like, I'm thinking of like Mary Poppins, right? That is going to tour in and around Lowell, Massachusetts in March of 2026, please let me know who that is. That is a reasonable person that we can reasonably afford. So you heard it here first. Someone won't like who.
So it's a music act. There's our hint. It's a musical.
We're looking for a music act, and then we're looking for personalities.
Springsteen. Born in the USA.
Somebody would hate him.
Make Pat Cook happy. He's been to every single Springsteen concert, for Christ's sake.
Believe me, if Springsteen would come in for 50, 75,000, yes, and I would be there.
All right. Well,
don't think Springsteen would do that.
But you know, the Summer Music Series, and talking to Peter Arcella, some of their budgets are around there, so that's.
We're talking to some of our friends in the industry. Right.
Okay.
Peter Arcella is somebody that like that.
Daryl Hall was here last night. He's a big deal.
Yeah. I don't think he was 75 grand
now. No, yeah, not anymore, but there was a time where he was, yeah.
Remember, we're also trying to make it where it's free.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a kickoff. So we want to do something in March, which is going to be a kickoff. And that's not going to be the only thing. I mean, we're looking at closing up and down Middle Street, Palmer Street, that whole area. And it's growing right now. But we're asking the restaurants on an easy side. Well, I say it's easy because I don't run a restaurant. But take some music, for instance. Give me a genre that you want. You know, I know you do Greek music and, you know, everything else, but take a genre on Thursdays and Sundays. Make it the third Thursday and the third Sunday of every every month that you're going to have something unique. Maybe you're doing a paint and sip. Maybe you're going to do something. And how does the city, which, by the way, we're using money that the city has put aside, plus we're raising funds. Steve Pinchatakis, Mike Kunzler, Shayla Mahoney, they're a part of a crew of people raising money to do this.
Can you help me get Shayla Mahoney on this damn podcast? She will not come. I'm trying to convince her husband he's going to come, Joe. But I'm like, ultimately, Joe, your wife and your sister-in-law are the two that, because if people only knew how much the Mahonies do behind the scenes.
I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to stop talking.
They would blush.
They'll
get pissed at you for talking about it, like Artie Demoulas. But
they are Artie Demoulas.
Yep.
McNamee's Mahonies. They do more things for more people throughout the city of Lowell.
And will not beyond. Come on to talk about it.
They're not interested. That's not what they do. They just help. That's one of that. Yep, we can do that. Yep, we can help. And that's all I ever hear. And there's just It'll be a beautiful story to write if it's ever allowed to be written.
Will they come in with you?
No. I'm not.
You said you're friends.
I'm friends.
I run into them.
They've been at my house. I've been at their house. Our kids hang out. We've been out to dinner.
Invitation?
Sure. Yeah. I will.
People should know what all the things of the Mahoney. It's the Mahoney oil, Eastern salt.
Yep.
But
Sure.
it's so much more behind the scenes.
I'm going to stop talking about this right now.
Do.
No, they don't.
They should.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
You have an opinion.
Okay.
I don't control. There's one thing. Shayla does not. Nobody controls Shayla.
Yeah,
She's her boss. She's the boss. Joe will tell you that.
Yep, he has.
Yeah, she is the boss. But she's a wonderful person, wonderful family. And I will ask, and I will. But my silence will tell you what they're going to tell you. Okay. So
all right. So Folk Festival a week and a half from now, bicentennial. You're already thinking about it. Anybody who wants to be involved has great ideas. If you know a musical act, will come for what's the price tag? $75,000.
Yeah, I think we could do it $7,500.
Okay.
And someone's going to say that's too much, but you know something? You only turn 200 once.
Tell me who the act is.
No. Well, exactly, and that's why I have some of our folks who are in that, the Peters of the world, right? Peter Lally. This is what he does for a living. Peter Osella. This is not his living, but this is what he does for the Summer Music Series. And then we have other friends that are really trying to push and help and try to get people interested in coming to the city for this. It's not, when you think about it, the amount of money that goes into it is really not that much money, especially if we're trying to make it as close to a free event as we can. So, and mark my words here, whenever we do make a decision, I hope it's, but we're going to have other opportunities. Like I said, we're going to really try to tackle Middle Street. So the idea here is, once again, the marketing of the city. If a business I believe this as all the business courses have taken and everything else, the one thing I firmly believe in is marketing. Marketing. Talking about what we're doing here in the city. When you close your doors, someday, the city of Lowell closes and we're out of business, I hate to say this to my friends who are in the marketing world, we should owe you money. You don't ever stop talking about what you're doing and where you're going. And I think in the last 3 years, from a communication standpoint, we're just consistently trying to evolve. And I think how easy it would be if we had, and I love the Sun, they do a great job, but all print media is having a problem. So how do we move forward in the media? Not everything's on Facebook. Not everything's on Instagram. I mean, honestly, Teddy, I'm not saying it because you're here. You're filling that gap of insight. How do we continue to hammer away where the people on the exterior know that Lowell's someplace I want to go? Lowell's because it's the music scene, because you can't touch our food. You cannot touch our food.
Yep.
We have more food, more different types of food than, I don't know if I want to try to rival Boston, because I know we're the younger sibling to Boston, but I might say for the quality, the quantity, and style and difference, we could maybe possibly at least compete with Boston in a walkable area. You can't walk from the south end to the north end. I suppose you could if you had a couple of hours, right? You couldn't walk to Southie from Beacon Hill. You wouldn't do that. It's just too big. But you can do that in Lowell. And I'm not taking a shot at Boston. It's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of my dear friends are still there. I was talking to some of the guys today. They caught a picture of the horse. So that I'm getting lit up on that. But it's all about attitude, right? You can teach anybody anything if they have a good work ethic. Like, I'm talking about you personally in the restaurant business. If you have a good work ethic, you're honest, and you're working hard, we can teach everything else. You can teach people how to sell. You can teach people, hey, Tom, you don't want just the salad. You want a salad and some protein. There's the upsell, right? You can teach people how to do that. But, the work ethic, somebody had said that to me a long time ago. We can teach everything else. Give me somebody who wants to work hard. Give me somebody that believes in what they're doing and honest integrity, someone that's really showing up to do their work, someone that's giving us a solid 8. That goes with Link, that goes with all of our employees, which I think are doing a fabulous job, right? It's a very large organization. It's a very large organization continuing to move Lowell forward between Folk Festival, Bicentennial, the Link, and UEF. We could teach anything else. Just work hard, show up, and do your job. And that's kind of what I'm trying to instill from my perspective. Because if people don't talk about mistakes, I make them all the time. Because I'm going to continue to stretch, to continue to find a mistake, so we can try to make it better.
Keep taking a shot. I'm not going to hit you on the Rourke Bridge because the mayor did a pretty good job of giving an update on today's Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, July 16th. Learn about the Rourke Bridge.
Can I say this one thing about the Rourke Bridge? They said it would be done by 20, 30 years ago. And it's coming to fruition.
He said there will be lanes. Yeah, he said there'll be lanes open in 2028 and the full span in 2029. Lowell High, quickly, this is a discussion for another podcast.
Yep.
Do you have legitimate options to recoup that $40 million extra that you now need to come up with?
We're going to be talking to the delegation. I just spoke with the treasurer the other day. We're not there yet.
The state treasurer?
Yes.
Deb Goldberg. She runs the MSBA.
Yeah, she does.
Okay.
So
is there hope?
You've been in my office. How do we get to yes?
Yep.
We
That's your favorite saying.
We need to continue to get, we're not there yet.
Okay.
So it's going to be extremely difficult. $40 million would be a hell of a hit.
You're not the only school over budget. And I know the project, the issues here are unique, but the MSBA is dealing with this across the board. There's something wrong with their formula or how they're...
I just think it's the timing. I think there's a bunch of things going on. The argument of where, when, and how, where this should have been built, it's been had. I'm dealing now with the consequences.
How do you pay for it?
Well, consequences of a decision that was made. For all we know, we would have went to another location, the other two locations, South Common or Belvedere, and maybe we would have run into ledge. I'm just making that up.
Those we can guess. We do know. Sure. We do know a for sure thing here, though, and that's $40 million that right now you have to come up. Is there a way to trim that? I have spoken to somebody, a member of that school building committee, who has said Teddy, don't be so negative. There's some really good, hardworking Lowellians who love this city who are trying to get that number down. I know it went down from 47 to 40, right?
Correct.
Can it go down further?
We will continue to turn the screws. I mean, we're just, I think that what people have seen thus far with the work that has been done, people are satisfied. People like what's happening. They like the new buildings. But the tough stuff's here. And a city manager once told me, because I do try to talk to the previous city managers, he said, Tom, all the easy stuff's done. He said, you got the hard stuff. And he goes, when you're gone, even the harder stuff will be still there. So, I mean, I can understand that very much, but the easy stuff is done. This is the hard stuff. This is the decisions that I don't want to have to make. I'd prefer not to make them, but we're going to have to make them. And it's really nothing more than financial. And it's difficult because when we raise revenue, and nobody wants to talk about this, we talk about this all the time. Nobody wants to raise revenue. The fallacy that you can just keep taxes at zero, it's just a fallacy. I mean, I debate this all day long, trying to get parks in line, trying to get horizontal construction in line, trying to make sure that we have police, fire, and the police and fire are doing a fine job. Our parks guys are doing a great job. Our DPW, they do a fine job. Our wastewater folks, our water, our water. Matter of fact, comment was made the other day. They're like, this is tap water? We were at the restaurant. I goes, yeah, this is tap water. I mean, we're so tired of just getting awards from our water department that we have some of the best tasting water around. All of that takes money, and nobody wants to spend it, but I spend it too. I have to spend it, the taxes as well. But if we want good things, if you want to position yourself in a better spot, you got to brush up your resume. You always have to be looking good, always looking positive. Sure, call out the negatives, absolutely, but pick up a broom while you're doing it. That's just my, that's my thought process.
So nice segue. Let's assume MSBA says we can't help you with the additional 40 million. What does it mean for future tax rates? We know that we're just beginning to hit the tax implications of the high school anyway.
That's right.
The 380 million project up to this point, or the 343 at one time. And
so call it 420. And
so now you're at 421. Hoping that it doesn't go up even more. But let's say you need to come up with $40 million that you did not need to. How much of an extra burden? You've given this number before, but for every 1 million you need, that's a blank % increase in taxes.
That's correct. So
what is that number?
When we raise taxes 1%, it equals approximately $1.8 million.
You got to raise taxes 35 to 40%.
1%.
Yeah.
So we raise it 1%. That means $1.8 million. Remember,
you don't have that levy.
We have plenty of levy.
Yes, you have, what was it, $14
million.
Okay, but you don't have $40 million.
No, but what happens is that's the borrowing capacity. we can increase the borrowing capacity. The $14 million is money that we don't tax. And, so this is
Right.
where, so the tax base right now is $182 million. Okay. We could be taxing upwards to $196 million, but we don't, because years past when we did zeros and ones and et cetera, so try to think of it this way. Taxes go up 2.5% automatically from our, what they call the levy limit. So this is going to get a little wonky, but if people, when Prop 2.5 was put into play, the state still says, Commonwealth of Massachusetts looks to Lowell, looks to Drake, looks to Chelmsford, looks to all of them and says, we don't care what you do with your taxes. We're telling you your tax levy limit is going up by 2.5%. So on an easy thing, say our taxes are $100, next year they're going to go to 1.25. And the year after that, someone do the real quick math for me, it would be a 1.4, whatever it is. Lowell decides that we're not raising taxes, 0%. The state still has our levy limit going up, right?
Was that the original intent of 2.5? By the way, it seems like it's been a little roundabout.
That the levy limit that came under, I think it was Barbara Anderson.
Yes,
from the,
Citizens for Limited
Citizens
Taxation.
For Limited Taxation. What they didn't anticipate, and this is not me being critical. I've debated her. Well, I did debate her. She has since been out of the business, and I think might have.
I think she passed away.
I think she passed. I do. And I had a decent relationship with her in the early 90s. Enough mid to 90s where we could talk. I think her intent was the right intent. But the problem is with taxes, when you're only going up 2.5%, it's like your home, your energy bill goes up 10%. Right. Our insurance, inflation, and everything else is going up 10%, 11%, 10%, 11%. That doesn't track. You can't track at 2.5%. So I'm sure back, if you put anything on a statewide ballot, get rid of taxes, it would pass. It would just pass. So it's really asking people that are watching right now and saying, I don't want my tax. Give me a call. We'll talk about it. We may not agree, but the fact that the cost of living, the cost of business goes up by more than 2.5% every year. So now, once again, get back to the $14 million, right? That's because in years past, we only went up 1%. So that 1.5% still gets it's in the bank. It's what we could do. We're not going to
zero from time to time. You did a zero increase.
Yep.
All right. But even if you use that, let's say if you instantly next year you raise to that full 14 million that you have,
yes,
you're still 26 million short for the high school.
No, but remember, two different things. One's the actual bond capacity. We're about 50% of monies that we could bond. Okay. So I'm going to tell you, and if somebody opens up their budget book at home or whatever, it's probably we have the ability to bond $600 million, and and that'd be fiscally sound according to the finances that we have. Matter of fact, we just got upgraded. We talk about this stuff. One of the big three upgraded us, and hopefully we'll get upgraded again. But that means something when we're borrowing money. So let's just say it's $680 million. We're probably around the 320 mark. So we have plenty of room in our bond. So think about it in your house. Your house is worth $500,000. You owe $100,000. Banks typically will go 80% of LTV, loan to value, 500, 400. You have $300,000 you could borrow tomorrow, provided you have a job.
Your line of equity, sure.
Line of equity. So the city's line of equity is about, say, 50% more. So the 40 million, yes, we can plug right in. The problem is paying for it. So when you put your 40 million in to what we already have, carry it out over 30 years at, say, 6%, we do get a little bit of favorable rate, maybe 5.5%. That is going to move us up X. Without the 40, this is where the point is, all right? I think you're getting it. Without the $40 million, let's take that off, put it off to the side. The high school's impact to the tax rate, and I believe it was Councilor Robinson that brought this up on the floor. Next year, take the 40 million out. Next year's impact, the first 1.6% of an increase will go towards the high school. So what does that mean? If we were to raise taxes next year by 2.5%,
which
right?
was this year's rate.
Correct. If we were to raise it by 2.5% next year, which everybody seems to think that's the reasonable thing.
You're at 4.1.
No, just 2.5. 2.5. Deduct the 1.6, right? Which gets you down to 0.9. We could have did this easier. Let's say that we raise the taxes by 2.6. Just, I know it's an odd number. 2.6 minus out the 1.6, then that means 1% is going for the rest of the increase in government.
Right. But what I'm saying is, so if you need a 2.5, but you would need the 1.6 for the high school, now you're at 4.1.
3.9. Yes.
Okay. And if you were at the 4,
No, you're right.
Your first year as manager, you were at, what was it, 4.5 or something?
5.5.
You were 5.5 in year one, which would mean 7 point.
That's right.
So this is going to be a burden on the Lowell taxpayers if the MSBA doesn't come up with this money.
Now that I'm thinking about this, I'm confident that it was Councilor Robinson that brought it up. I'm confident because he asked the no nonsense. Let's pretend we're not raising taxes at all. Okay. What would we have to do just to pay for the new debt from the high school? And my answer to him was approximately 1.6 million. Now with the 1.6%. Yes. I apologize. 1.6%. Now with the $40 million, it all depends how that's going to play out. Do we get half? Do we get some? Do we get none? And that will raise it up to another whatever. So to your point, right? Let's pretend that 40 million doesn't exist because that's just another problem. You're correct. 1.6% of the next year's tax rate will go only towards the high school.
Yeah, you won't be able to increase it just 1% next year. If on top of the 1.6, you had 2.5 next year, 2.5 this year. You're saying is a gift.
Yeah, well,
to the taxpayer.
I think we were balancing. We were all right. We were doing well, and then this $40 million isn't funny. It's not. It doesn't tickle. It hurts a little bit. It stings. But there was a decision that was made. And I wholly endorse putting money into our schools. I think that when I first got here 3 years ago, and to any school teacher watching right now, there's still something wrong in my school. Yes, there is. But I can emphatically say that there have been less calls on heat, on AC, and things of that nature because of the money that we have hustled. Catherine Moses over at our energy department, she is just phenomenal. With the amount of money that she's, our sustainability division, she's worked really hard at that. We've put a lot of capital into our firehouses, for instance, capital that has never been put in. By the end of this year, we'll have bonded, which means we will execute, and spent probably close to $20 million with new equipment through ARPA, as well as bond money, putting your money where your mouth is for the fire department. And our school department, tens of millions of dollars. And that's through MSBA, that's through MSB ARP, which is the Accelerator Repair Program, which people don't realize when there's a $30 million ARP that comes in from the state, we have to match that. The city has to come in, and I think it might be about, if I'm doing my math correctly, it might be upwards of about $7 or $8 million. So that money is real. That's taxpayer money going into the schools. So all of this is happening, and yes, taxes are a thorny issue, and I will debate them all day. What do you want to do, right?
Nobody wants to cut services.
No, but do you want to go back to, schools not working? Do you want to go back to heating systems and air conditioning systems not working? Once again, there's a teacher right now that's going to be watching this saying, my class is too hot. You're right. There's pots in my house that are too hot, too cold, etc. When are we going to get there? I don't know. But the entire system's not down. And when I first got here in 2022, the phone call started immediately in September. It was crazy time between September of 22, and Ricky Underwood, by the way, does a fabulous job. But September of 22 all the way through winter, it was hell week, month, 3 months, whatever it was, because all of the money that we had programmed to come in started finally hitting. And I think with all the programming money that we have going into the schools is showing that the facilities, we're caring about the facilities, which brings me to another point. I know it's been a tough one for people to digest, right? What the schools do. The schools can't be both. excuse me, the city cannot be both any longer. And I've said this, I'm going to say it again, I'm going to keep saying it. We are either fully on board with keeping our facilities in an appropriate learning environment, right? And that means things aren't raining, things aren't falling on your head, right? Doors locked, doors open, heat turns on when it's supposed to, AC turns on when it's supposed to. The facilities look exactly, we can either be the facility department that the schools deserve, or helping with employment, the employee issue. And that's the money, the cash that people know about. We cannot be both. We don't have the financial resource to do it. And what I have found out through my own private business, when you try to do too much, you end up doing it all wrong. You end up doing everything wrong, because you can't half fund. I'm going to say something else. You can't fake your way through, a 60,000 square foot building. And we have, well, I know one of them, but we have 29 buildings just in our school department. And we have, I believe it's 8 firehouses. You can't fake your way through that stuff. You're either going to spend the money, which I think this council, this administration, with the help of some federal money, but what is being lost in, this council has funded this stuff. When I ask for $30 million or $32 million in bond authorization, they say yes, because they know $6 million of it is going to firehouses that have needed it for the past 20 years. They know that when we put money over in the DPW, $1 million, $1 million hasn't happened. $1 million. So DPW no longer is trying to scramble looking for money to fix an elevator or fix whatever. That's the first time that happened.
That's not real money if you listen to certain people.
But you know something?
It's a way to hide and give less cash. You're putting money into the buildings, and you're probably overbilling to inflate that number.
Day to day,
your contribution.
Day to day, I will debate that all day long. The books are open. The Department of DESE, Department of Education, Secondary Education, I think it's DESE that signs off on this stuff at the end of the day. Debate it all day long. I don't think the city can be both things or everything to everybody, in the schools, and et cetera. I just don't think it can happen. You know something? Give me all the money back. Let's put it towards facilities, and hold me accountable for that. Don't hold me accountable for the facilities, and sometimes over here we need cash because we need to hire these folks. And I'm specifically talking about the schools, which I have a great relationship with Liam. He's doing a dynamite job. Still, he's not.
I meant still. You have a great relationship.
No.
Not still. He's doing a dynamite job. It was a rough budget season for you two.
Yeah, but it really wasn't. He's doing what he needs to do, and he's speaking his truth, right? I'm speaking mine. And if people watch this and think I'm wrong, call me and tell me. Call me and tell me, because it can't be, well, we just need more money. Well, what can we do about it? Are you going to be before the council saying we need another 2% increase? Are you going to do that on top of everything else we're trying to accomplish? What I'm simply saying is, for the first time that I don't know when this has happened, we'll be in charge. We can be in charge of the buildings, and we're changing the way this work is happening. If people are not seeing and I always go back to street work. The only reason I go back to street work is because people visually see it. They can visually see the seal coat, the seal cracking, the seal coating or fogging, the new roadways being completed, new sidewalks that are being done, roadways that haven't been touched in years. We're doing this stuff, and if you and undoubtedly, once again, I go back to Facebook, and why do I even mention this? We'll say, hey, we're closing down these 10 roads, right, to do all these cool things: new sidewalk, new lines, new trees, et cetera, right? Well, how about so-and-so street? I'm like, guys, we're gonna, we have 260. I think it's 200. And, I always change these numbers around. 265 or 256 miles of roadway that we've been spending $2 to $3 million on. Now by the end of this year, I think we'll be close to $30 million in 3 years. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, but are you paving them in cement?
Oh, the cement thing. Asphalt. I'll tell you, my theory on asphalt and cement was heard, weighed, and found not to be important.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's fine.
Listen, you're just lucky Belvedere they didn't ask for them to be paved in gold.
But I mean,
Cement's
we laugh about this.
gold.
We laugh about this. And someone had made a comment to me, my value in my home went down. And once again, to reiterate, to go back to where I was, nobody ever once, I never sold a house or bought a house where someone said, I'm not buying that house because of asphalt or concrete. But that being said, I'd say let's do it all asphalt if we're going to go there. But the fact of the matter is somebody has to say no. Somebody has to put it in check. Somebody has to say that is 10% more, 15% more. Why not me? And that hasn't happened yet, but someone's going to say, why not me? Why can't I have that? And, this is one of those things that adults can agree to disagree on, and that's fine. Some people haven't. Some people are giving me the cold shoulder. I'm like, operate it like a business when you can. Because if government ever ran like a business, you would shut down more than half the departments. So when you can, you should always be running it like a business. What would I do at my business? If I was paying for that, it'd be hot tub. That's just, that's my opinion.
Doreen's going to kill, I don't know, you, me, or both of us.
This has been great.
I kept you long. I just quickly wanted to...
how much trouble did I get into so far?
No, we'll get you into stuff. But you sang the praises of Julie Chen to me on multiple occasions as we talked about the genesis of the Link project and how it came about. You talked about going to meetings in D.C. with her and watching her.
Trying to chase her.
And I've seen her make presentations before. What she did in front of those international delegates last week.
Yep.
Man, she's at a level that I don't know I know who Harvard's president was. Julie Chen is way above her. I don't know who's replacing her.
Top of the course.
Between Marty Meehan and Julie Chen, the UMass and UMass Lowell system is on a par in terms of leadership with anybody in the United States of America.
It's par for the course.
100%.
When you talk about Julie Chen, it's just par for the course, right? She shows up. She is a stud. Period. I think I made the comment.
Smartest person in the room.
And doesn't tell anyone.
No, you don't.
I believe me. I meet a lot of people that are really smart, and they'll tell you hundreds of times where they went to school, what they do, and everything else. Right? She is by far the smartest person in the room. I had said to her, joked with her in Washington. I said, "I'll hold your bag," But she never makes anybody feel that way. She is such a positive influence on so many people. She is smart, she is thoughtful, and she's deliberate, and she knows what she wants to do. I made a comment, I think, at that event that there were big shoes to fill. Marty Meehan, which I think the world of Marty Meehan. I do. Even though I'll bust on him as quick, and he'll bust on me. He just does it quieter. I don't know why. But we have a great relationship back and forth. And I had meant it as the biggest compliment. I mean, to try to fit into Marty Meehan's shoes would be a monstrous task for anybody. And someone right now, oh, he's kissing up to him. No, I'm not. Because if you know our relationship, we go back at it all the time in a friendly manner. But we also say no to each other often on different things. But to fit into his shoes, I think it's an impressive statement. She hasn't fit into his shoes. She's blown out of them. Yeah. She is just, she's a wonderful partner. Another guy overlooked often, Middlesex Community College, Phil Sisson. Phil Sisson in his own right is a monster. I mean, he, when it comes to education stuff, when I talk to him about this, when I talk to him about trying to get things accomplished, he just, doesn't have the answer all the time right away. But I'll tell you what, he comes back to me and says, Tom, how about this? Why don't we do that? He's a thinker just like Julie. And I think that there'd be 351 other cities and towns that would, eat them up and take them both and take both campuses immediately. And I say that with a lot of conviction. They're great partners to have.
UMass Lowell is on a global stage now. I saw that. The hell with MIT and Harvard, which they already deal with. Yep. I'm not sure they need them in Lowell. And quite frankly, I think UMass system and UMass Lowell in particular are going to steal some jobs from MIT and Harvard people across the world with the urban economy for them.
I think they will. But I think that, MIT, when you're that big, when you're Harvard, you should encourage that. Like when people worked with me in the State House, they worked with me for years doing whichever committee that I was in. I think it's your job to want to make sure that people leave and go someplace and grow someplace. I would hope MIT and Harvard would think that. They would think that they should be wanting to help, different communities, different universities, et cetera. I've never seen anything different about it. I've seen where Quite frankly, we're in talks and discussions about working with one of those institutions right now. I worked with MIT when I was the chairman of Telecommunications, Utility, and Energy. They're a pleasure to work with. But to think that Harvard and MIT, they may have swagger, which they do. Let's be honest. I don't think UMass Lowell is holding anyone's jacket in that conversation. I think they're not. And I don't think the UMass system is holding anyone's jacket. Because when you really start to think about this as a bachelor's degree, if you're going to get a bachelor's degree, you want the swag, you want the name, sure. But you want to go to the university. I think to live there right now, and I should know these numbers off the top of my head since I have two there, one at UMass Lowell, one at UMass Amherst. But I think it's still sub 20, it's 18. And then, when you're really smart, thankfully my daughters are followed my wife, which has a incredible professor over in the nursing area. But when you're that smart, you get 5,000 knocked off, 2,000 over here. It's not for free, but I'll tell you right now, it's a heck of a lot better than I don't even know what Harvard would be. It's got to be 85, 100.
Easily.
Yeah. How do you come out with $400,000 in debt?
So all these challenges you talk about, growing healthcare, inflation, and the $40 million high school, you need new growth desperately.
Yeah.
Frontrunner City promises that. Link has been promising that. Now, they were supposed to break ground in March, though. They haven't. My understanding is those pesky interest rates.
Yeah. The interest rates, once again, the market dictates, right? And if anybody says, anybody that goes on Facebook or wherever the heck they're going to go and talk about, oh, this isn't happening, then something, please stop. Just please stop. Because, or call you, right? You know more about this stuff than, I'm not a developer. You get your hand in development. Call anybody that actually knows what development is. Because when I see it, I just sit there and cringe. And I'm like, where is your friend? Your friend needs to contact you and say, stop saying that because you don't know what you're talking about. The interest rates drive the economy. Markets will decide what we're going to build. It'll be a 5-story, 6-story, a 50-story. There is not a crane in Boston, so I've heard, that is moving right now that hasn't been in process for 3 years. What does that mean? They're coming to a close, right? Is there a crane that was put up in 2025? No, from what I understand. Now, this is coming from my union friends, the guys who are, work, steel workers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's no new cranes going on right now because the interest rate's too high. And how do you deal with that?
Everything ground to a halt.
It does. And you're seeing those jobs, and this is where the scary stuff comes. When those jobs become scarce, what happens is, at least on the union side of the world, the bench gets full. And when the bench gets full, that means people aren't working. When people aren't working, that causes a problem. Now, a la UEF, if we, do our thing and continue upon what we need to accomplish over the next 6 months, I believe it's about 6 months that we need to accomplish some things, order of operations to tighten up our resume. I'll call it a resume. We could be entering into a time where we may have 1%, 2%, 3%, just in our city, because we're the front runner city.
And given that these folks want UMass Lowell to partner with them, they're eligible. Yep. So that this could also kickstart Link.
Could
expand it.
Once again, Link is could be potentially expanding. I mean, the MOU is already out with Hamilton Canal 15. That's out.
My Draper Labs building, the nice glass and steel building that I saw in Cambridge.
Yeah, but it's 75,000 square foot. They're looking right at a 75,000 square foot building, which would be high tech. 50, 100 people, something into that manner. But it'd be the first time in 25 years we're actually moving, and that's and it takes that long to do this stuff. I'd ask anyone to go build a single family home. Go build a single family home if this is easy. You won't be in it for 16 months. Now, there's a developer out there saying, oh, no, that's BS. Well, no, it's not. You know why it's not? Because if anyone says that's BS, you already have the lot. It's already been cleared. It's already has all its permits, and you're just waiting on the wood. Yeah, you do that in 3-6 months. Absolutely. But from beginning to end, it's going to take you that long. I mean, that's just I didn't write the rules on this.
All right. Lots there.
Yeah, we have a
good
lot.
stuff happening. It's a good time to be in the city of Lowell.
It's a lot of excitement. Frontrunner City is exciting. Link is exciting. Other things that we have coming in, which will be excited. The partnerships that we have, the power of the partnership between UMass Lowell, Middlesex Community College, UEF, the United Nations. The fact that, honest and truly, Mayor Rourke, and I have to throw him a bone on this one, because really we talked about this in the beginning. Well, it's an opportunity, right? Why would you not go? Went, made it happen, impressed a couple of folks. Next thing you know, we have a vast majority of the council go up there. Wow, this is impressive. They were impressed because we took them serious. We're taking them serious, back and forth. Now all of a sudden we have the UEF here, and it really starts with the mayor. The mayor started this off, and then Link is continuing. The 200th anniversary. What a way to kick off 2026. Think about that. The way to kick off 2026 with the UEF, with international partners, with intellectual stuff that we stole from England a number of years ago, right? It's kind of funny.
Yeah, big times need.
Stole or maybe borrowed. I don't know what they had intellectual rights for back then.
China does it from us all the time. So but always good to have you in
Thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry that we went on so long, and hopefully
I'd keep you here. Doreen will kill us both. But thank you so much. Lowell City Manager Tom Golden, thank you for tuning in as well. A lot to get there, but there is a lot going on in the city of Lowell, and for once, it's a lot of good stuff. Even I can find the positive in it. I'm the most negative jerk around. Thanks for tuning into this Inside View podcast here at Inside Lowell. As we like to say, if Lowell is your home, this is your place. We'll catch you on the other side.